When we receive new members, we have them stand up here and we ask them a series of questions. And one of them is, do you believe in God? It seems like such a question of certainty, because the choices we give them are either yes or no. And as a child of faith, I longed for such certainty. I wanted to be a child of certainty. The world was scary then as it is now. The world life was frightening then as it is now. And I wanted to know, not just believe, that there was something bigger than us working with us in this world. I remember as a young person driving past the seminary, Luther Seminary on Como Avenue, as we took the back route to the State Fair. And I knew what a seminary was. I knew what they were doing there. And I was envious, because I thought certainly this was an institution filled with people of certainty. Either they showed up at the door certain in their faith, or at some time during their education they were exposed to some kind of artifact that had been looked at by scientists and confirmed by people, liberals and conservatives, and it was really a true document. And here it was, some kind of manuscript, and at the bottom it said, in handwriting, "Best wishes, Jesus Christ." And Christ was underlined, so they really knew who Jesus was. By the time I entered that school many years later, I would have even been satisfied if they had told us, folks, none of this is true. But we want you to participate in perpetuating this, because this is an opiate for the people, and they need it. They never did either. And so we were left to our faith. We were left with our subjective faith to learn truth. And faith is so given to an ebb and flow. It is so difficult. I was a child of faith. I wanted to be a child of certainty. Today's story, the Transfiguration, has an element of certainty to it, because it's a story of a revelation. Jesus invites a select group, Peter, James, John, to go up to a mountain to pray with them. Pray with him. And while they're up there praying, all of a sudden, two men appear, Moses and Elijah. If nothing else, if that was the sum and substance of the experience, it showed Jesus' rightful lineage in the great prophets. But more was to come. A cloud descended upon them. And from that cloud, a voice, the voice of God, and it said, "This is my Son, the chosen one. Listen to him." How much more proof do you need? How much more certainty do you need to override the fluctuations of faith? And yet, the story tells us that after they descended the mountain, the disciples told no one of what they had seen. In Matthew and Mark's version of this story, in fact, it says that Jesus says, "Don't tell anybody what you've seen." And this is a curious aspect of Jesus' personality, because you see throughout the Gospels that often he is telling people, don't tell. Whether he has healed somebody, raised somebody from the dead, or somebody has said, "Oh my gosh, I recognize who you are." Often he says, don't tell anybody about this. Why? It's just not good PR. A few possible suggestions. One, logistically, it would have been difficult. Jesus was healing people. Jesus was raising people from the dead. Had word gotten around that there was somebody walking around that could do these things, everybody would have been in line. The crowds would have deluged him. He would never have been able to travel or to say the words he had come to say. Another possible suggestion. And remember, if you look at the Old Testament, there was lots of talk of miracles. Okay, so in the context of this pre-rational document, miracles could be conjured up by priests and whoever else. And so when Jesus came along, he was doing more miracles. And he didn't want the people to rely solely on these miracles as proof of anything. He didn't want them distracted by the possible meaning. Also, I think there was a component of Jesus that didn't want people relying on the say-so of others to convince people who he was. Pilate said, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And Jesus said, "Is this what you believe, or has somebody told you this?" And then later, when Peter said, "Jesus, you're the Messiah," he said, "Blessed are you, Peter, for you have not been told this by human beings, but this has been revealed to you by God." Now again, look through the Old Testament and you'll see that one of the characteristics attributed to God is the giver of wisdom and truth. The prophets and anybody else are mere conduits, but it is God who reveals that truth to the prophets. Jesus was looking for an experience where people were having direct revelations, not second-hand, not ones based on external or exciting miracles.